Peace. Once I realized that an ayat is not a verse, um, it is just a proof or a sign. Pretty much a proof. You know what I mean? Um, throughout, throughout. You know what I mean? Because poetry have verses in it, singing have verses in it, and this is not like poetry, so it can't be a verse. It just has to be a proof or a sign. Um, and then once I found that out, I realized a surah can't be a chapter. So I had to go through the ayahs that I found, um, the word surah in it, and let's see if calling a surah a chapter fits the context. And ayat 223, God's pretty much saying if you doubt the reading, if you doubt what's been sent down to the servant, then come up with a surah like it, right? Then come up with a surah like it. So if this is a chapter, this chapter is 286 something so-called ayats in it, verses in it, then the people will have to come up with one just as long and with similar information. You see what I'm saying? Or something similar to it. Now, if you look at the word surah, it took me some time, but I come to realize, what if the word mean policy, right? So, if you doubt what has been sent down to the servant, what has been supplied to our servant, then come up with a policy like it. Why? Because a surah, as you will see, doesn't refer to a chapter or the section they classify as a chapter in the reading. It deals with policies. Um, Here you go. In 9 ayat 964, the hypocrites fear a surah exposing what is in their hearts. Right? The hypocrites was fearing that a surah will be sent down exposing what is in their hearts. So the hypocrites fear a policy will come down about them what is in their hearts. Do you need a so-called chapter that is how many length or to explain what is in their hearts, to expose what is in their hearts? Okay. 986. When a surah comes out or comes down, when a surah comes out to those who trust in God and struggle with the messenger, the rich wants to stay behind. I'm just kind of paraphrasing the ayats, right? So when the surah comes down, and the surah, when this policy comes down, it comes out to trust in God and struggle with the messenger. That's it. That's the surah. That's the policy. Trust in God and struggle with the messenger. The rich wants to stay behind. All right, there you can read further into these ayats. 9:124. When a surah comes out, some ask, whose trust, whose iman increased from it, right? So when the policy comes out, whose iman is being increased by this policy? Uh, Whatever that policy is. 9:127. When a policy, a surah comes out, people look at each other. Do anyone see you? Then they leave. So pretty much they looking at each other and like, does anyone see, like, are they paying attention to us? And then they would leave. Boom. So like Muhammad is giving them the surah, and they don't want to be around for it. 1038. If they say he made it up, say they bring a surah like it. Right? Bring a policy like it. If they say that he's making it up, bring a policy like it, a surah like it. Like whatever that policy would be. Okay. In ayat 11:13, if they say he has made it up, say they bring 10 surahs made up. Bring 10 policies, surahs made up. Right? So if you're thinking that these are supposed to be chapters, then they will have to make up 10 chapters. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the length of that chapter would be, they would need to have 10 chapters. It wouldn't make sense for them to go back and write 10 chapters. So they're just coming up with 10 policies. A policy could be something short and quick. For example, in 421, the surah we made obligatory in it are clear proofs. Right? What is this surah? What is this policy? The policy deals with fahisha, right? The you see, it tells you this is the punishment for this for them was what 100 lashes or whatever, right? If they commit this fahisha, so this is a policy done dealing with fahisha, right? With the sexual immorality. And then in 47:20. Those that trust wanted a surah. They wanted a surah, a policy. Then when a surah or policy is applied and fighting is mentioned, the people with diseased hearts, they pretty much they get nervous. You know what I mean? They get fearful and everything like that. So as you can see, this policy that came down, this surah that came down, deals with fighting, right? Like kutiba alaykum al-qatl. Fighting is ordained for you, right? So as you go, once you put the pieces together, it becomes clear. Surah is not a chapter; it's a policy. Whatever that policy is, because you gotta understand that the Quran contains the dhikr, the mention of the remembrance. It contains the ayats, the proofs, right? It contains clarity, mubin. It contains detail, fossil, right? It's detail, right? It contains what I'm looking for, hikmah, right? The wisdom, which I call the regulation. It contains al-kitab, the law. You know what I mean? It contains these things. It contains al-huda, guidance. It contains the Furqan, the standard. That's what I call it, the standard. I mean, pretty much the standard. But yeah. So, I mean, you go look through these ayats and, see if the word policy fits the context or any other word fits the context, you know what I mean? So, gotta understand this information in our language, you know what I mean? I can't understand it as an Arab will understand it because I'm not an Arab, you know what I mean? Plus, I'm trying to understand this also in light of my society, the society that I live in. So yes, an ayat is not a verse, it is a proof. And a surah is not a chapter, it's a policy. Peace.